So it's come to my attention that apparently it's peak lesbianism to like oat milk. A mutual of mine on Twitter was asking about the connection because she got asked if she liked girls when she got oat milk in her coffee this morning. And since seeing that post, I intended to do a little research and just respond to her tweet, as you do, and came up with this mini essay. I hate my life too, how about you? Makes me feel productive to use the effort to the fullest, you know? Gotta make content. From what I can tell of the meme, the image of an oat milk drinking lesbian, from what I've gleaned from looking around online but not getting a defining "this is where it started" context, is an artifact of a particular overlap within the demographic, particularly the white middle class, at least the image of one, lesbian experience. It's kind of a stereotype, but something that seems to be true for a lot of people, somewhat like the stereotype of a U-Haul lesbian. Seeing a bunch of TikToks and memes about it, what I see in common with the depictions are white, conventionally attractive girls that look like, or outright say, that they go to farmers markets, do yoga, and are coffee snobs. However, upon further research, it became clear to me why there's such a narrow lens in the information availability about oat milk lesbians. Oat milk lesbians. Such a hard word to say. It's not a lesbian thing though, it's a queer community thing. It's why it seems like you're missing out on the joke when you look at the information just for lesbians, cause it's not centralized to just that community. It's merely an offshoot of it.
One thing I fucking love about homos who like unabashedly order coffee with oat milk, of course, is that they always put oat milk first. Like they'll say, "Can I have an oat milk latte?" Not a latte with oat milk. That's like the identifying label. It reminds me of "My friends call me gay Nick," instead of "Hi, my name is Nick and I'm gay."
Oat milk, a type of plant milk commonly consumed by the queer community, often used in iced coffee. It started by me finding TikToks of queer people who weren't lesbians talking about gays liking oat milk. And Urban Dictionary. Or of people assuming one likes oat milk because one is gay, to the point where one woman was venting a straight person was admonishing gays online for liking oat milk and making it a gay signifier, associating the stereotype with queer people being special snowflakes, and making oatmeal about sex. Oat milk about sex. Oat milk is not oatmeal. They're different things.
The reason why I don't like straight men and the reason why I don't hang out with straight men is because they take so much offense in small things that don't even fucking involve them. How could I forget last year when I posted a picture on my Instagram story of me enjoying the new delicious Starbucks brown sugar shaken oat milk espresso drink? The joke was that gay people were gonna run to Starbucks because gay people love oat milk, an established stereotype. And who swept up on my story? This cis man who was like, "Yo, gotta fucking make everything about your sexuality. Tell me, where is oat milk gay? Why would a milk be gay?" You don't understand. Just relax. Nobody told you to swipe up on my story. Nobody told you to get your panties in a fucking twist.
And then I just stumbled into normalized homophobia about it. And at that point, I knew it was more than just a meme. Buying oat milk without looking gay? I was at the grocery store today buying oat milk, and I just do it because dairy is bad for my skin. I promise I don't care about animals or the environment or anything. This guy next to me looks at me like he thinks I'm some sort of soy liberal cuck or something like that. How do I buy oat milk without looking gay? But still, the question persisted. Why the fuck are queer people associated with oat milk? At a glance, I think the association's probable reason is because queerness, or queer acceptance, is commonly valued in progressive politics. The people who say are environmentalists are more likely to be queer or queer accepting. Kinda like how trans people are associated with communism. Gay people, and I'm using that as an umbrella term, are associated with environmentalism. You're a tree hugger? What are you, gay? The stereotypical cool gay hippie aunt comes immediately to mind. I had 3. But I couldn't find anything concrete on this oat milk gay thing. However, I did find a related op-ed in GQ from 2019 titled, "Why is Iced Coffee So Gay?" by Aleem Kuraja, whose explanation for iced coffee's similar popularity amongst the queer community to the point that even straight people take notice does seem to explain the oat milk phenomenon in a very analogous way. A picture of a man wearing a massive coat with his hood up while battling his way through a snowstorm went viral. It sounds unremarkable, except that in 2-degree Fahrenheit weather, he was death gripping an iced coffee. The picture, fairly innocuous aside from the man's choice of caffeinated beverage, was shared by the City of New York's Twitter feed and paired with an incredulous caption. How can an individual in this freezing weather, the tweet suggested, be drinking an iced coffee? It's obvious, people suggested. He's gay. Obviously, there's no way commenters could have known this man's sexuality. Honestly, I'm not sure anyone even knows who he is. But none of that matters. After all, what was clear to the corner of the internet known as gay Twitter, and to the site Gaystar News, was that this man was just exercising his rights. Nay, his duty as a gay man to drink iced coffee. Iced coffee, you see, is gay culture. Editor's note, can confirm. In a piece published last October on the LGBTQ website New Now Next, it was noted for the past 2 years on social media that there's been a steady flow of jokes and memes about the gay community's affinity for iced coffee. According to NNN, iced coffee is gay because portability, cute cups, easy consumption, it's cold, and customization. You can pump it full of sugar or sugar-free syrup that is definitely not giving you diabetes. The site compared it to the stereotype of suburban moms and their consumption of Pinot Grigio. Iced coffee is a gay crutch. Personally, though this explanation seemed too generalized, while it's hard these days to truly understand why anything becomes a meme, there is a lot of portable, easily customizable things that come in cute packaging that aren't so easily aligned with the gay community. Does no one remember the trend of changing your fescue on your cell phone back in the aughts? Although looking back, actually, that was pretty gay. One of the earliest examples of the gay community's deep relationship with iced coffee comes from a 2001 episode of Will and Grace. In Season 3, Episode 11, Jack, played by Sheen Hines, becomes besotted with a barista who keeps giving him free drinks, ultimately getting hyped on sugary caffeinated beverages. Jack's crush, ultimately, is fruitless, and Karen has to help him get over it. Hijinks ensue. Still, while having a crush has certainly led to gay people doing ridiculous things in the past, the episode doesn't quite properly draw the line between iced coffee and gay culture at large. But there could be something in the way that Jack signaled himself out as a gay man to his crush by his repeated orders of frappuccinos. Indeed, according to former BuzzFeed writer Sam Stryker, who once wrote a post for the site called "This post will only make sense if you're gay and love iced coffee." There's a countercultural element to iced coffee's popularity with the gays. I think the joke sort of originated as gays drinking iced coffee in the winter, Stryker explains. Like, gays will do ridiculous things, and there's something so countercultural about drinking an iced coffee during the winter. It's also, he says, a sign of resisting homogenization. Hot coffee is so normcore, like, it's for dads and old people commuting on the train. For Sam, iced versus hot coffee is the perfect symbolism between queer and straight culture. Essentially, iced coffee has become a queer avatar, and a way for gay people to signpost themselves against the uniformity of heterosexuality. If you're straight, that may sound ridiculous, especially in an age which, while things are far from universally perfect, gay people can live their lives with a fair amount of autonomy. But signposting queerness is a gay tradition that dates back to the 19th century, according to Dr. Justin Bingray, who convenes Goldsmiths University's MA in Queer History in London. A lot of men develop codes so that they can signal to each other their interest in same-sex desires, he explained. This could be through particular fashions or products they use. I find it showing up in the late 19th and early 20th century in men's magazines. They would say what products real men won't use and what products are effeminate. That might be coded to signpost which ones, to use our language, are considered gay. While there are some codes that were very specific, such as the hanky code, which signals specific sexual proclivities, Dr. Bingray says that mostly the signposting was subtle, such as wearing a red tie or a pinky ring. Usually, though, they had something to do with subverting gender norms. For example, wearing color was a subversion of the dark suits men were accustomed to wearing, while anything ostentatious or extravagant, such as using a scent or perfume, was associated with women. The codes associated with a gender difference, he adds, could then signal a sexual difference. Although it's interesting to relate stuff like the hanky code to iced lattes, and in the age of Will and Grace it was much more necessary to signal to other queer folks on the sly, it seems like a bit of a stretch nowadays for Oatmilk to be so queer-related for the same reasons. Further research on the topic of gays and iced coffee led me to one more tidbit of understanding this trend, and might help one understand how many innocuous things in culture have or gain a relation to a certain marginalized community, especially the queer community. and overall, it's much more satisfying than my opening argument and understanding of gays liking oat milk because it's a symbol of whitewashed privilege, ideal, queerness. In articles from Vice, why are we suddenly claiming everything is queer, and why do so many queer people love Kill Bill? Brian O'Flynn talks about the concept of disidentification and its academic precedence in the queer community. Disidentification is an academic term describing the process by which queer people ascribe queerness to cultural narratives not meant for us. It's when, in the absence of mirrors, we begin to see our reflection in the walls. These cultural hallucinations define many of our early lives. We don't have to simply reject the mainstream. We can summon a phantom queerness where it does not exist in straight culture. Benji is a 23-year-old trans man and lives in Dublin. Growing up, he had a similar experience. He was obsessed with Yu-Gi-Oh! Long before I ever knew I was trans, I always loved that character because he was very short, very high-voiced boy who didn't even look remotely masculine. See also me. But he had an alter ego inside his soul, who was tall and sultry and handsome and everything that I wanted to be, Benji says. And I clung to that because I was absolutely fascinated by the idea that somebody like me could become somebody like that, even if it was just a silly cartoon about card games. Benji was able to recode the narrative offered by this ostensibly cis-heteronormative cartoon to conjure up a representation that was absent from mainstream culture. He looks back on his obsession with great fondness now. I still am kind of fascinated by it, he says. This example of disidentification does a lot to explain the prevalence of trans headcanons actually, and I love that. Though that's not the topic of this video, but it is an idea I'd like to return to in a future one, because that's just one part of the ubiquitous phenomenon of trans headcanons. And transcoding. I could probably go on for an hour if I wanted to about the topic because I do miss academia, and I never got to take a queer studies class, so the concept of disidentification is new to me, but it's infinitely interesting. These articles are cool reads, and I recommend them, or the reading that underlines them. No Future Queer Theory in the Death Drive by Lee Edelman, or most notably, Disidentifications, Queers of Color and the Performance of Politics by Jose Esteban Muniz. Books I have not read, but this essay literally exists from a spark of curiosity and an ADHD braingasm that happened at 8:30 a.m. this morning from a mutual's Twitter post, so I'm not gonna spend several weeks reading those. Maybe one day. O'Flynn acknowledges a burning question in these articles that normally I wouldn't assume was being asked in good faith because it's so regularly asked in bad faith, like in that one girl's TikTok that she was having chagrin with cis... Fuck, I keep saying cis people.
And who swiped up on my story? This cis man who was like, y'all gotta fucking make everything about your sexuality.
Within the framework for disidentification, O'Flynn posits that because of more mainstream visibility and acceptance, the disidentification should be going down, but it seems that queer identity is claiming even more things now, not less. He talks to Mike Dolan, a gay man who popularized the meme that gay people walk fast on Twitter, asking him what queer people were getting out of creating new stereotypes for ourselves. I think it's about having something to ourselves that straight people can't get. Humor that is purposely or aggressively insular so as to confuse people who aren't in on the joke. That is probably at least partially sparked by the commodification and sterilization of LGBT plus culture in the mainstream. O'Flynn doesn't try to give a definite answer though, noting that Dolan also thinks that it could be a post-ironic meme to highlight that you can be gay while doing literally anything that a straight person does. So in effect, everything is gay and straight people just have to cope. The aggressive identification of certain activities and items as queer, O'Flynn says, could be an effort to preserve the in-group from the commodification that straight celebrities trying to piggyback success through association with the queer community and efforts of rainbow capitalism to exploit us are doing. Finishing out that article, I was kind of salty because the focus became explicitly on gay men, which felt really weird to me, especially because my research started with the premise of why lesbians like oat milk, so it became utterly ironic. These were deep and interesting questions, but as a non-binary person, I felt a little off-put by it all. Despite the fact that trans film culture does influence a lot of where I stand on things, I'm kind of in a gray area in a lot of respects. At the end of the article, it's posited that the spreading of queer folklore isn't oral anymore. It's now shared through virality. And that framework for this phenomenon is kind of uplifting. After all, stereotypes like gay people can't do math or don't drive seem to be as random yet ubiquitous as the oat milk thing. Though in efforts to just see it as legend or just fun stereotyping, I can't help but wonder what the environment does to queer folks that don't fit those stereotypes or aren't in on the joke. I hope it wouldn't lead to gatekeeping. I've known trans femmes that feel bad that they don't like pickles, or queer folks who can drive but feel weird asserting it. And the more material stereotypes that affect the queer community, like being disowned or abused by your bio family for being queer, I've heard by more than a few folks with loving families can make them feel high-key imposter syndrome. And that stereotype exists because of the common experiences of homophobia and queerphobia that plague society at large. A stereotype that exists for an easily identifiable reason. So although it may be fun to indulge in the absurdism of many queer stereotypes, it is valuable not to put too much stock of your whole identity into them. When I read in one of those articles I mentioned that Will from Will and Grace ordered frappuccinos till the cows came home, I swear my brain replayed all the fraps I would ask for as a kid. And now that I'm thinking about it, I want to say doing that doesn't make me any more or less queer. At the same time though, I do think there is value in building solidarity through shared experiences, hobbies, and interests. Lane is a terminally online trans girl icon, bisexuals love EDM, gay guys love Mariah Carey, and yes, lesbians like oat milk in their iced coffee. Hey, nerd, thanks for making it to the end of the video. We really appreciate it. But the nerds we appreciate most are our wonderful, wonderful patrons. R2 Walker, Void System, Nova System, and Valued Customer. If you want to join these beautiful nerds, you can go over to our Patreon in the description and help support the channel. Eventually, we'll be able to actually put funds back into the channel and be able to get our bigger videos out faster. If you like our work, please like, share, comment, and all that fun jazz. If you feel like watching me play Splatoon 3 today, was this Saturday? August 27th, then this morning I'll be over on our Twitch channel doing that for Splatfest. Or if you want to support us but can't do it concurrently, there's always Ko-Fi. You can get us a nice coffee. Anyway, take care of yourselves, bites.